everyone, welcome to the 11th lecture on the course Mathematical Modeling and Simulation. So the outline of this lecture is I will first talk about what is Monte Carlo simulation, then I will give some examples of Monte Carlo simulation, then I will answer that what do we mean by random numbers, and then we will see some properties of a good random number generator. So let's start. So I'll start with this picture. This is a picture of casino at Monaco whose name is Monte Carlo. So you can now think that the Monte Carlo method or the Monte Carlo simulation came from this casino's name. So I will just tell you a little bit about the history of Monte Carlo. This concept was mainly invented by a Polish American mathematician Ulam together with John von Neumann, and Nicholas Metropolis also contributed. So as I have told you that it is named after casino, since in the casino there is a game of roulette, so this method is also incorporating the element of chances, so therefore this was named as Monte Carlo method. So this method was mainly initiated or mainly thought of by Ulam. He was once sick and he was playing a game of solitaire, and he wanted to find out what is the probability of winning this solitaire game which he was losing all the time. He spent a lot of time trying out the combinatorics, and he was also applying some theory of probability, but he failed to compute. And then he just thought that, well, I can play a lot of hand and then I can count the number of hands I win divided by the number of hands I played. But he was losing all the time, and he thought that if I do so, it will take me a year to find what is the probability of winning this game. So he finally asked one of his friend John von Neumann. He was working with the ENIAC machine, and he said that whether he could do this type of simulation in his machine, and then they developed the theory of Monte Carlo. And this theory was applied also in World War II to improve the decision making under uncertain condition, and it was successfully applied to Manhattan Project in the Los Alamos National Laboratory. Now, what is Monte Carlo method? So this is a method mainly which is used for estimating the value of unknown quantity using inferential statistics. And the main elements of Monte Carlo methods are the populations and the samples. So what is population? The whole array of options or possibilities. This is the population. Now if you draw the subset from this population, it is called as samples. So the main idea behind Monte Carlo was that if you choose the sample randomly, it will tend to exhibit the same property as the population. As I have told you, population is what? It is a whole set of possibilities. If we talk about this population in terms of the solitaire game, it means that is a universe of all possible games of solitaire that you could imagine or you could play, and this you can think is very, very big. So if some subset is drawn randomly from this population, it will exhibit the same property as that of population. Now you can see that here the keyword is what? Randomness. And if we do not take the random sample, then there is no reason to assume that the small subset will have the same property as the initial population. So we should be very clear that the subset drawn are random. Now let us take an example. Suppose that you are playing a game of tossing a coin with your friend who haven't seen coin before, and the game is to that he needs to predict that whether the coin will land up in head or in tail. If he picks tail, then you will say that the head will come. When the first coin was tossed, it came out to be head. Then again the coin was tossed and again it came out to be head. So now your friend will think that this coin only have head, because both the time head came out, and again when the next time he tossed the coin, again there is head. And then he must be thinking that there is only one possibility, and then when you toss the fourth coin, here it comes tails. Now he started thinking that okay, there is some other option also, but the coin is biased towards the head. But you want to convince him that the probability of coming head and tail is half, right? So if you see that in this case, like if the simulation number is small, you cannot make any type of solid conclusion that what is a probability of getting head or tail for tossing a coin. What we can do is that we can do a large number of tossing, and then you will see that you will arrive that you are getting 50% of head and 50% of tail, and the coin is not biased. So this can be done with the help of a computer program. This is a program in Python where you can see that just what we have done, we have taken a random number, and then if we say that if the random number is greater than 0.5, then increase the number of head. Here we have initialized head variable to 0, and if you simulate the result, like if you take the loop just for only 2, then 5, then 10, and you are increasing the number of simulation, you will see that you are getting this result, like near to this result. Obviously if you simulate again and again, this might change, right, because every time the new random number is generated. But if you take a large number of simulations, suppose that I have taken 10 lakh simulations, you will see that the probability of getting head is 50%. So what we have concluded from here is that for getting an appropriate result, the large number of simulation is required. Now if we talk about another example, again for tossing a coin, and we toss it 4 times, then we need to find out the probability of getting 3 tails and 1 head. Now you know already that there is a mathematical formula to do this, that is by binomial distribution we can find out the probability of this case is that probability of getting 3 tail and 1 head is this, right? So we could do a simulation for this too. For this we have written a Python code. So you can see that I have taken the simulation to be 1 lakh, and then just what we have done, we have generated 4 random numbers that is in the range of 0 to 1. That means that this code will generate a random number that is in between 0 to 1, that is uniformly distributed, means every point has a equal probability of coming. So any number between 0 to 1 can be generated by this. Then again, and if the sum is equal to 3, then the count will the count of s will increased with 1, and then you can see the probability by s by n, that is the number of success divided by the number of simulation. So here I have shown you the result, that number of attempt is 1 lakh, and the number of success, that means that the final value of s is this much, 25,156, and the probability is coming out to be this, that is equivalent to 1 by 4. Obviously whenever you will run, you will get a bit different value because these numbers are random. But you can see that how Monte Carlo simulation can be very helpful in generating the near about probabilities that can be found by the deterministic formulas. Now here is example 3. Suppose that we want to find out the value of pi. Now you know that the area of circle is pi r square. If you say that this is my circle whose area is pi r square. That means the radius is r. So if there is a square that is enclosing this circle, what will be the area? The area will be here, it will be, the side will be of 2r obviously, and so I can say my area will be 4r square. Now if I divide the area of circle is equal to pi r square by area of square, that is 4r square, you will see that you will find out the value of pi by 4. Now after getting the value of pi by 4, you need to calculate the value of pi. So what you can do, you can multiply the result with 4. So you can do this, you will get pi by 4, value of pi by 4, and if you multiply you will get the value of pi. So what is the game which will give this value of pi? It's simple. Suppose that if you have a board, or you can say that this is a ground and you have made a circle and this is a square. Now you are playing the game of throwing the pebble. Now suppose that you are throwing a lot of pebble over here, right? Some of the pebble, it is possible that it goes to this area, to the corner which is not inside the circle. It is possible that you can throw the pebble over here. So what you need to do to find out the value of pi, just you have to see the total number of pebbles you have thrown. So what will be the total number? Total number will be equal to the red pebble plus the black pebble, right? Because this is the total number, whatever we have thrown, we have seen. And if we want to calculate the value of pi by 4, it's simple, that we have to find out the red pebble. The value of pi will be equal to red pebble divided by the total number, say n. I am representing total number as n into 4. So you will get the value of pi. The main thing is that we can know the ratio for calculating this. The ratio of the area of the circle divided by area of square can be found out by this thing, that the red pebble divided by, because the square is entire, so we will sum up, so divided by n into 4. So let us see how can we do this simulation with the help of computer programming. So this is a very small programming, and you can see that just what I have done, 1 lakh simulation, and here I am initializing the variable dot with 0, and then for I is from 1 to 1 lakh, then I have generated 2 random numbers. Now if the random numbers is less than the sum of the square, that means that I am dealing with the unit circle. So if this x and y, which is randomly generated, and obviously this is generating the random number in between 0 to 1, right? And then if the sum of the square is less than 1, that means that the pebbles are inside the circle or in the boundary, then increase the dot. This is initialized with 0, and if this happens, that like if the pebbles is inside the circle or in the boundary of the circle, then increase the dots with 1. And then what you can do, you can multiply, as I have shown you that our required answer should be multiplied by 4. So this I have firstly multiplied 4 into dots, and then value will be dots divided by the total number of simulation. And if you want to calculate the error, what you get from here and the actual, obviously the actual value of pi is still not known, but whatever the MATLAB is having the value of pi, then you can calculate the error by writing this line of code. So you can see that how Monte Carlo simulations are very simple to implement in the computer, and you can get a very sophisticated results from it. So now we will summarize that as you know that Monte Carlo simulation is also called as Monte Carlo method, and it is also sometimes called as multiple probability simulation. It is a mathematical technique which is used to estimate the possible outcomes of uncertain events, and it can be also used to solve stochastic problems to mimic randomness of the physical behavior. And as you have seen that this process consumes the random numbers. Also the Monte Carlo methods are stochastic and are simple to implement, as you have seen from the programs, and it can be also used to solve deterministic problems. From the time Monte Carlo simulations have been invented, it has many applications like in artificial intelligence, stock prices, sales forecasting, cryptography and pricing. Now how can we improve the convergence? You might have guessed that if we increase the number of iteration, the convergence improves, and obviously we have to choose the independent random numbers. So these are again the requirements, that the supply of the random numbers, and you must have some knowledge about the probability distributions. So till now in this lecture you heard this word random number, right? For simulating Monte Carlo simulation you require random numbers. So the question arises, what are these random numbers? So the random numbers is a number that is generated by a process whose outcome is unpredictable and which cannot be subsequently reliably produced. So it is basically a number. A number can be anything, integer or in fractions, whatever. It is a number and it is generated by a process. So it can be any process, like if you are throwing a die or if you are taking a card out of a deck, it is a process. So any process that is happening, that is giving you a number and whose outcome is unpredictable and cannot be subsequently reliably produced. So these are called as random numbers. For example, if you sit and if you count the number of customers arriving in a restaurant per day, that is also a process which is giving you a random number. Suppose that in day 1 there is 50 customers, in day 2 there are only 10 customers, and obviously the numbers of the customer doesn't depends upon the previous day. So this is a process that is generating a random number. So there are three types of random number: the real random number, pseudo random number and quasi random number. In this we will study how to generate this pseudo random numbers. So if we talk about the true random numbers are those in which if we program the computer, they must use some external physical variable that is unpredictable, such as radioactive decay of isotopes or airway static, rather than by an algorithm. So this word is important, that we should program in the way that uses the some unpredictable variable, like you can say the weather component, that is unpredictable. So if we use those external physical variable to get some number, that is truly random number. There were some historical methods to generate the truly random numbers. First was throwing the dice. You know that the dice have the numbers from 1 to 6. So if you throw the die, you will see that you are getting random numbers. This is whatever random numbers you can get by throwing a die. The second one was deal out the cards. Like suppose that there is a card deck and you have to choose any one card from that. That is one of the way of generating the random numbers. Again, to draw a numbered ball, like you have a balls in a basket and it contains some number, and if you draw, it is a method for generating a random number. Now using the digits of pi, you know that pi has an infinite decimal extension, so you can pick any number from it, and that could be also a way of generating the random numbers. There are also mechanical devices, electrical circuits, counting gamma rays, read in a table of random numbers. So these were the historical methods by which the random numbers were generated. Now here is I have taken a snapshot of a website that is giving you the random number, and you can see that if you see the description, they are writing that their randomness comes from the atmospheric noise, which for many purpose is better than the pseudo random number algorithm. So they are using the atmospheric noise to generate the random number. So you can give your maximum and minimum value over here, and if you press this generate button, they are giving you the random number every time. Mathematicians are using a lot of calculations and mathematics to develop the algorithm for generating the random number that mimics the property of the true random number. So we are going to see that. We will now talk about pseudo random numbers. So what are pseudo random numbers? As the word says, these are you can say false random numbers. These are not really a random number, but it is almost the random number. They are not true because they are generated from the some algorithms, and because they rely on some deterministic formulas, so they are not secure. And if we know the seed, we can replicate the random numbers, and therefore it is named as pseudo. So basically most of the algorithm generates the pseudo random number that is in between 0 to 1. So what is our main aim is that we will now try to generate the sequence of the numbers in this range, and that imitates the properties of the random numbers. Now when I am talking about properties of the random numbers, let us see what is the properties of the random numbers. Now we talked about the properties. So what are the properties of a good random number? So a good random numbers must follow these properties. The first one is uniformity, that is the number should be uniformly distributed between 0 to 1, and the numbers must be independent. That means that the numbers generated shows no correlation with each other. The third one is replication. The numbers can be replicable, means that if you choose the same seed, you will get the same random number. Like if you want to get the same simulation, and if you take the same seed, you will get the same set of the random numbers. Now the third one is cycle length. It should have the long cycle length. Now what does this cycle length mean? As I have told you that pseudo random numbers use some algorithm, right? So if we use some algorithm, suppose that this algorithm is giving me the random numbers x1, x2, x3 and so on. Now since we are using the algorithm, it is possible that after few numbers it starts repeating itself. Suppose that I got x7, then after when I use this x7 in the algorithm, I again get x1, then x2, then the same thing is repeating. So this length should be long. Like for this, the cycle length is 7. So if the cycle length is long, we will get a lot of random numbers. You can see that here only if my cycle length is 7, I am getting 7 different type of random numbers. So for a good algorithm, we should take care that our cycle length should be long. Then obviously the speed of the generator should be fast, and the generator should not require a lot of storage, and it should be cryptographically secure. So if we see the properties again, we have these two really important properties, that is uniformity and independence. Now if we talk about uniformity, then in the simple way I can say that you have a number 0 and 1, then each number in between 0 to 1 has a equal probability of being generated. That is, each number, or you can say the probability of any random number in this domain is equal. So this is a probability density functions of random number. This is just showing that in this domain every number or every random number in this domain have a equal probability. And independence means that they should be independent of each other. These are the common pseudo random number generator. In our course we will just talk about this mid square and linear congruential method. Obviously if you are interested you can go through all the other generator. These all generates the pseudo random numbers. So we will talk about these methods in our next lecture. I will end this lecture over here. Thank you.